do, people? Hey, it's your boy, Augustine, ripping motherfucking tracks in the motherfucking building. Hey, I'm finna hello my nigga KZ. He downstairs knocked out. I'm about to show y'all what a LO is. If y'all don't know, y'all finna find out.
Moisturizer for extra healing power and the best skin of your life. Call 1-800-916-6902.
I am very proud of my skin now, and that is something I never would have been able to say before.
Welcome back to college football final. AT&T.
Hello! Yeah, that's where the motherfucking LO is right there. Got it!
Oh, stop fucking playing.
Hey.
Hold on,
Say, this is the end results of the LO. This is what you call a half LO. Hey, I ain't get the full-fledged LO. Hey, y'all go see the full-fledged LO. The full-fledged LO is coming soon, but this was the half LO. Y'all already seen the nigga Augustine on the motherfucking. You already know my nigga Tank. Let's go, nigga. Hey, we out here.
This nigga mad. How you think I record there, Tay? That nigga mad.